If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I post a new Tom Brady video every day.
I have just one response from Mr. Kraft. Welcome to life without Tom Brady.
You had the guy for damn near 20 years.
This still already has gone down as the biggest mistake in NFL history.
And I think from a football standpoint, Tom Brady has felt disrespected and undervalued for a long time. He's never had the best wide receiver in football, albeit Randy Moss for a couple years. He's never had a crew of receivers consistently that he can say, you know what, guys, we can build some continuity. We can build a rapport here, and we can do it time and time again. It's always been Tom Brady, you're the guy you can work with and win with anything.
It's pretty evident that he was happy to get away from Bill after all these years. He had done enough winning with Bill, and he had enough of Bill's methodology, and he wanted to get away from Bill.
Well, a few things I believe in. Family, faith, football in Florida.
You just pushed a quarterback out the door who immediately, even in the middle of a pandemic with no preseason, went to another franchise that had been woeful, had the worst all-time record in the history of sports as a franchise, known as the Buccaneers.
Right.
And he went and won the Super Bowl with that group. Again, the cupboard was not bare. It was actually loaded, but nobody could quite see it.
Right.
Because Jameis was there, and Jameis was leading the NFL in turnovers by far, running away with what was it, 30 interceptions and 5 lost fumbles, 35 total turnovers. You just can't overcome that in the sport that you play.
No.
I've argued this, that he suppressed a lot of his personality in New England for the betterment of the organization, and this is really who Tom is. Tom's kind of funny. Tom is wildly competitive. He just bumped Bruce Arians to a job he never wanted, a cubicle upstairs. He's a lot more cutthroat than we think. Hyper vigilant and willful. That's who he is. But Tom also, especially early in New England, suppressed it because he realized very quickly, this is a great owner, and this is the best coach in the history of football, and my defenses are remarkable.
I don't care if they won the Heisman. Now they're a Patriot, and now I need them to perform a job. When you have a group of people that hold each other accountable, those are the teammates that you're looking for. I was lazy.
I want to see you get out here and start running.
It's not my job, man.
Remember, Skip, he had a Julian Edelman who's on his last leg, so after he retired. That's how banged up he was. So that's what Tom Brady would have been throwing to. He had Jacoby Myers, who they converted from a quarterback to wide receivers. They had a N'Keal Harry, who hasn't panned out to this point just yet. And I don't see how much longer I don't see if he's there very much longer. Maybe this year, but probably next year, Skip, he's going to be out. They took 2 tight ends. Neither of them panned out. They ended up going to free agency getting Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Yep. They had to overpay for those guys. They had overpay for, they got the kid from Nelson Aguilar, and I think they got a kid from San Francisco overpaid for. None of those guys are better than Chris Godwin. None of those guys are better than Mike Evans. None of those guys are better than Antonio Brown. None of those tight ends are better than Gronk or better than a Cameron Brake. So in other words, Skip, coach.
Or O.J. Howard.
So Skip, when you look at it, I get it.
Yep.
Tom Brady should feel vindicated because he left a situation where the cupboard was bare and goes to a store where the cupboard is stocked.
And I think it's the right move for Tom because over the years, I think Tom has felt disrespected. If you think about the Patriot dynamic and the way they're set up, Mr. Kraft allows Belichick to handle all football decisions.
No one really gives a what I've done. They want me to do it now.
I believe even with just AB and Edelman, Tom was on pace to have a pretty good year, Skip. He just needed weapons. He's 44. He's not 30. So him just being able to just elevate everybody else, he needs a little help now. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't believe Coach Belichick was ever going to be able to provide that.
The tipping point goes back to when Brady basically in the public eye was begging for a contract last year. He's talking about how many times have you seen me come to you guys and basically beg for this contract, and Bill Belichick said, yeah, okay, I want to take this year by year. And I think that was the tipping point for Tom Brady.
Bill will always be as smart as any coach I've ever seen. But the league is now, Bob, as you see clearly, moving in a different direction. The middle of the field is now the offenses. You can't hit quarterbacks or wide receivers. The NFC, every playoff team had an offensive coach. If you eliminate the AFC East that had only defensive coaches, 7 of 8 remaining divisions were won by an offensive coach. McVay's, Zach Taylor's, the young coaches, McVay's tree, they're all working. Belichick's defensive tree, many aren't working.
That's part of the problem, because ultimately we come back to the relationship of Bill Belichick. Max Kellerman, if you sit there and you're underpaid and you're undervalued and there's a lack of appreciation for you, despite the fact that you've won 6 Super Bowls and you've been to 9 Super Bowls.
No matter how you slice and dice it, it still goes down as the biggest mistake ever, because he went and won the Super Bowl in his first go-round with that franchise. So it makes you look all-time bad because you made an all-time mistake. But to your point, if Tom stays, it doesn't happen.
Right.
Because maybe the bigger mistake was made by the owner, Robert Kraft, about 5 years earlier, when he didn't sit back and have enough vision to see, I've got to take personnel out of Belichick's hands, because slowly...
No, you can keep personnel, but I'm just going to take this personnel out of your hands.
Okay, but do you need a GM? Do you need a personnel director? Do you need a draft master? Do you need somebody to come in and acquire players and let Bill coach what gets acquired?
What's Bob Kraft seeing? What's he thinking?
We arguably regard him as the best quarterback of all time. He's never been the highest paid quarterback in the league. And at some point, we all have pride. Men, women alike, we all have pride. And at some point, when Brady looks himself in the mirror, he says, you know what? Enough is enough. And I find it highly poignant what Stephen A. talked about when he talked to Mr. Kraft. Brady wanted to leave. And I think the fact that he wanted to leave, he wanted to go out and do this on his own because of the undervaluement and the disrespect that he's felt.
Bob Kraft has been able to function for all these years in Bill I trust, let Bill do what he wants. Bill runs everything the way Bill wants to run it. Fine. Bill can be an ass after a game and that's fine. Embarrass the organization. That's fine. We'll get the benefit in the end. But maybe the benefit, the benefits aren't going to be so good from now. But I think that I'd love to know what Bob Kraft, how close attention is he really paying to all this?
See, here's the thing, though, Skip. Even though the talent was getting worse, Brady was still playing at such a level that he could elevate it, and you were winning Super Bowls. And so, Skip, you're blinded to the fact we just won another Super Bowl. But you look around like, well, damn, our talent is not nearly the level of what X is, but because Brady was at that level, but then the last couple of years, it had gotten so bad that even the great Tom Brady couldn't elevate it anymore.
Okay. But he knew that he could go show the Buccaneers how to win.
Yes.
Like, what do we always talk about? My Dallas Cowboys. They just might be the most talented team on paper.
Right.
And then what happens? Well, they don't have him at the helm. They don't have him running the locker room. They don't have him as the ultimate final voice, of reason in the franchise.
Right. One thing you can say about Brady for sure is his handling of these kind of situations has been impeccable. I think about the radio host who said something with his, I forgot the details, but it had to do with his kid or something like that.
About his kid.
About his daughter. And Brady immediately stopped, left, said it shouldn't cost the guy his job, handled it exactly right. And this is how a situation like this should be handled. The owner of the team who had Brady's back in the last go-round deserves the respect of a face-to-face meeting. The fact that Brady handled it that way is completely unsurprising.
But at some point, every man and woman draws a line in the sand and says, you know what? Enough is enough. I have a value. I have a worth. And for Tom Brady, right now, it's about championships. And if you're not going to allow me and surround me with the right personnel, that way I can go win a championship, then why am I going to come back? You're not going to make me the highest paid quarterback in the league. Then why am I going to come back? Yeah. And Max, I know you think Tom Brady's falling off a cliff. But I got to think if you put the right weapons around Tom Brady, he's still a top 15 quarterback in this league.
I agree with you.
And I think you can look at that based on the fact that you got teams like the Chargers, the Buccaneers, maybe the Dolphins. These teams are willing to give Brady $30+ million a year to come direct their franchise.
I agree.
If I said today, who are the 3 or 4 biggest athletes in Boston? Who are they?
Well, with who gone, there's no one Patriot that stands out. So
there isn't.
It's a situation when a guy like that walks into the room, everybody gets quiet. What is he going to say? What does he want to say? What does he need to say? Because I'm all ears. He's instant credibility. Skip, this ain't no, well, if things go right, that's Tom Brady. He's walking in with six Super Bowls, all these MVPs. You know what he represents.
And this is something I think Robert Kraft has to look at. Belichick said years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, he was only going to acquire, draft, or trade for players he wanted to coach. It's like, okay, be very careful. Okay, some of the great players you may not love coaching. I heard one of the reasons that they let J.C. Jackson walk is because they didn't think if they franchise tagged him, they thought he would be difficult. And I think to myself, Bill, sometimes great players are difficult.
Robert Kraft woke up last year and said, wait a second, we're about to go 7-9. How can that be? Because all he's ever known, for the most part, is
playoffs and Super Bowl.
Tom, terrific, man. Tom will figure it out.
Right.
Tom will overcome. Tom will win in spite of. And he just did again and again and again. It didn't matter how many poor moves, how many suspect moves Bill Belichick made as the team builder, as the GM of the Patriots. Brady always canceled it out.
This is the interesting thing with Belichick. When he said that, they had Brady and they were winning. But this is the Greg Popovich connection here, is that not everybody is going to buy into your culture, but sometimes you need a great pass rusher and you need a great wide receiver because, and that's where I am a little fearful that Belichick, he's got his legacy, he's got his net worth. Bob, he doesn't, here's too much power.
It's going down as the biggest mistake in NFL history, and I appreciate what Mr. Brady Sr. said about this, because you have to go back 5 years. The mistake started to get made by an owner who just sat back, as Nero did in Rome, and fiddled while Rome burned. And Rome was starting to burn 5 years ago because, in the end, he just needed credible talent around. Credible. Just even mediocre. And I don't even think they were mediocre to the point where he said, I need to get up out of here. Right? Thank you for letting me out. And again, Mr. Brady said, Tommy is extraordinarily appreciative of everything that happened during his New England career. Okay, that is true. He is. He loved it there.
What's not to be appreciative about? 6 Super Bowls, 20 years, the MVPs, the friends.
And again, I think he appreciated playing with and for Belichick. I do, in the biggest picture, and with and for Mr. Kraft. And yet, in the end, it all failed him. They did not live up to their end of the bargain. It was not winnable anymore, and that's their mistake.
The reason Molly's always argued, oh, he's better than Rodgers, and I would just tweak the word and say he's greater than Rodgers, is what Brady was able to do is lead a team. That, you know, and that affects both sides of the ball, right? He led the team to the promised land.
In the end, he chose his coach and general manager over Tom Brady. And you got to live with that.
Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe as I post a new Tom Brady video every day.